Let's pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and county assemblies for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings stand upon us here assembled, grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you committed to our charge. Amen. Clerk, take us through the order of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Honorable members, we are in order paper number 110 of today, Thursday. I beg your pardon. We are in the order paper number 085 of today, Thursday, 23rd June 2023. Order number 1, admission of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I want to welcome you to this session, and I want to appreciate your time for last session. I know it was a bit hectic, but I know that despite the fact that there were so many activities for different members, a number of you members took their time in the yesterday's session. I also want to request the same, that I already have communication of the motion that is coming. There is a ceremony that is going on around Nyamasaria, I believe, that a number of members were invited. I want to request for your indulgence that we better dispense of that with the matters that we have before those who would want to attend that ceremony to attend. Otherwise, welcome. On the same note, 100 members, if you look at the speakers gallery, we have got visitors from Kwale County Assembly Welfare Committee on a consultative meeting with the sister Assembly of Kisumu Welfare Committee. And I want to mention them by name. Guzo Matero, chairperson. Mama Kombo Rashid, vice chairperson. Idi Rashid, the organizing secretary. Elias Matanga, treasurer. Hassan Suwari, vice secretary. Nick Siso, head HR department and a member of the committee. Daniel Mbinda, member. Mwanamisi Hamisi, member. Valerie Maina, member. Our visitors from Kwale, you are welcome to Kisumu. You know, Kwale and Kisumu have a lot of interests in common. I believe, I was informed that you are here by the clerk. I hope that the sister committee of Kisumu managed to talk to them. But maybe I can give 2 2 members to say something. Is there the chair welfare? Let me just give 2 members who would come first, a lady and a gentleman. Yeah, there were officials of the staff welfare, but I'm giving 2 members. I'm seeing the commissioner. Just proceed. That's Honorable Pamela Migosi-Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to take this opportunity to welcome our visitors.
Just a minute, Honorable Vincent. Proceed.
I wish to take this opportunity to welcome our visitors to Kisumu. I hope you've enjoyed your fish and you've seen the lake, and it has been a worth tour. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to tell you that you may come back again to Kisumu. You are welcome.
Honorable Setoku.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to join my colleague in welcoming the staff members of Kwale County to Kisumu Assembly. Mr. Speaker, it's the work that they do that facilitates what members do in this assembly. And coming to this assembly today shows how much respect they have for the House. Because if they didn't, they would have just met the staff and went back to Kisumu. Went back to Kwale. Thank you, honorable members. Please, as you will be traveling back to Kwale, send our greetings, not only to staff members, to the honorable members of Kwale, and we shall also do the same as you have done to us. When we send staff to Kwale, I think ours might be a little bit different. We'll join them too, so that we have so many meetings with Mwanamisi, Amadi, and Valerie Maina, because that's the intention of us having this benchmarking program, so that we know each other much more deeper. Amanamangani members. Otherwise, thank you so much. Feel welcome. We can entertain you after this. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you so much, Honorable Seth, for the offer. I know you will entertain our visitors well. Otherwise, next order, clerk.
Order number 3. Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Next order.
Order number 6, notice of the motion.
Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Statement time. Next order.
The Speaker, sir, order number 8, motion, adoption of the report by Budget and Appropriation Committee on consideration of the proposed Kisumu County Annual Development Plan for the fiscal year 2023-2024. Thank you, Chair. A motion to be moved by the Vice Chairperson of the Budget.
Honorable Seto Kumu.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to move a motion on Budget Committee's report on their consideration of the proposed Kisumu County Annual Development Plan for financial year 2023-2024. Mr. Speaker, before I read it, I want to implore on members that it's a long report, but very, very important, because this is where your first developments in the world will start from. So please bear with us as we go through the report and you contribute and adopt it later. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, pursuant to Article 220 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Section 104 and 108 of the County Government Act 2012, Section 126 of the PFM Act 2012, and Sessional Paper number 189 and 193 of the Kisumu County Assembly, the CCM Finance and Economic Planning accordingly submitted the Kisumu County Annual Development Plan for the financial year 2023-2024, and you will find that in the annex of this report. And this was done on Wednesday, 3rd May 2023, and was committed to the Committee of Budget and Appropriation and sectoral committees for processing. The Kisumu County Annual Development Plan of Kisumu offers a framework that will direct the execution of programs and projects in the financial year 2023-2024 with the goal of improving transparency and accountability to facilitate realization of planned county development goals as envisioned in the CIDP 3 of 2023 to 2027. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the CIDP will implement programs, projects, and priorities of first year of the third generation of the Kisumu County Integrated Development Plan of 2023 to 2027, chosen through numerous consultation forums with members of local community, line departments, county budget and economic forum, and many other stakeholders. There are 5 chapters in the CRDP which are summarized as follows. Chapter 1 gives background information of socioeconomic infrastructural status that has bearing on the development of the county. Chapter 2 reviews the performance of the county in terms of implementing 2021-2022 ADP, giving achievements, challenges, lessons learned, strategies to mitigate the challenges. Chapter 3 presents development projects and programs and priorities to be implemented in 2023-2024. And Chapter 4 is a summary of the sector and total budgets and revenue financing. Mr. Speaker and other members, the County Annual Development Plan seeks to focus on the following thematic areas. 1, enhancing food and nutrition security. 2, enhancing universal health coverage. 3, supporting local manufacturers. 4, supporting innovation services. 5, infrastructure development. And 6, enhance resilience, adaptive capacity, and access to clean and safe household water. Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable members, the Budget Committee gets its mandate from Standing Order number 189-3. And the mandates are to investigate, require, and report on all matters related to coordination, control, monitoring of county budget, and B, discuss and review budget estimates and make recommendations to the County Assembly. C, examine county budget policy statements presented to the County Assembly. And D, examine bills related to county budget, including appropriation bills. And lastly, is to evaluate tax estimates, economic and budgetary policies, programs, and direct budget outlays. The honorable members, the committee has 15 members, with Honorable Joachim Okech as the chair and Seth Okumu as the vice chair. And the secretariat includes Oben Ojuok as the County Assembly clerk, Peter Nditi as the principal clerk assistant, Omolo Isaac as the committee clerk, Zabulon as the Hansard, Rafael Lakeo, researcher, Dennis as public relations, and Hezekiah Awinda as the sergeant at arms. Mr. Speaker, we want to acknowledge your office and the office of the clerk for helping the committee in coming up with this report. And now we have something that the House can adopt. Mr. Speaker, I will examine, review, and process the proposed Kisumu County Annual Development Plan of 2023. Honorable members and Mr. Speaker, the provisions of the Kenyan law require that resource allocation commences with fiscal planning, which is the stage where consideration of development priorities, projects, and programs intended to be completed over a given period are made. This prompted the government to develop and adopt a public expenditure management framework, which requires government to be fiscally responsible, spend on the right things, and make the most of limited resources. The Kenyan Constitution and other relevant legislation require that all county spendings be tied to a planning framework that sets the priorities and key performance indicators, targets. The PEM cycle can be simplified in sequence of 4 parts, which include planning, budgeting, execution, and evaluation. Mr. Speaker, linkages of CADP with other plans. Honourable members, the 4th schedule of the Constitution assigns the national government the role of national economic policy and planning, while county governments are responsible for county planning and development. Article 10(2) of the Constitution on national values and principles of governance further prescribes the need for good governance, integrity, transparency, accountability, sustainable development, and guidelines for preparation of the Kisumu County Annual Development Plan, financial year 2023-2024, that was as of June 2017. Mr. Speaker, on the County Government Act 2012, Section 104, states that a county government shall plan for the county, and no public funds shall be appropriated without planning framework developed by the County Executive Committee and approved by the county assemblies. Honourable members and Mr. Speaker, the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, and that is Part 4, Section 126, requires county governments to prepare development plans in line with Article 220 of the Constitution. And in the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011, Section 37 of the Act stipulates that a city, which Kisumu is blessed to have, to be a county with a city, it says that a city or an urban area integrated development plan shall be aligned to the development plans and strategies of county government. And then, honourable members, in the Intergovernmental Relations Act of 2012, Part 3, establishes the summit responsible for monitoring of national and county development plans and recommending appropriate actions. Then we have the National Government Coordination Act of 2013, which provides for establishment of various committees to coordinate national government activities, and pursuant to Section 13 of the Act, the National Government Service Delivery Coordination Committee were established in each county through the Executive Order Number 3 of 2014. Kenya Vision 2030, in that, honourable members, it creates a globally competitive and a prosperous nation with high quality of life by 2030. These are some of the acts and policies that we use when we are making the Kisumu County Annual Development Plan. Then we have the medium-term plans, and the medium-term plans of the Kenya Vision 2030 outlines the policies, legal and institutional reforms, as well as programs and projects of the government plans to implement during a 5-year period. So, honourable members, to align national and county plans, priorities identified from the counties are incorporated in medium-term plans and specific sectors. And medium-term plan 4 prioritize the implementation of economic recovery strategies to reposition the economy on a steady and sustainable trajectory. Honourable members, on linkages with CADP with other plans, the CADP offers framework that will direct the execution of programs and projects in financial year 2023-2024 with the goal of improving transparency, accountability to facilitate the realization of the planned county development goals, to improve the quality of life for all people. And that is explained in a table that is in the report. Mr. Speaker and honourable members, the statistics that were used as we derived the Kisumu County Annual Development Plan. And all members know that currently we have 7 sub-counties with a new sub-county, which is Kadibo. And the 7 sub-counties include Kisumu East, Kisumu West, Kisumu Central, Moroni, Nyando, Seme, and Nyakach. Mr. Speaker, as we are making this CADP, the division of Nyando into 2 sub-counties was done, but we could not get specific figures for each sub-county, so we still combine them in the Nyando sub-county. So honorable members, Kisumu East sub-county has a population of 220,997 and an area of 141.6 square kilometers. Kisumu West has a population of 172,821 and an area of 209 square kilometers. Kisumu Central has a population of 174,145 and an area of 36.8 square kilometers. Seme has 121,667 and an area of 267.7 kilometers square. Nyando has 161,508 and an area of 446.1 square kilometers. Moroni has 154,116 and an area of 657.5 square kilometers. And Nyakat has a population of 150,320 and an area of 326.7 kilometers. The following county assembly wards fall in the different sub-counties. Kisumu East has Kajulu, Kolwa East, Manyatabi, Nyalenda A, and Kolwa Central. Kisumu West has Southwest Kisumu, Central Kisumu, Kisumu North, West Kisumu, and Northwest Kisumu. Kisumu Central has Railways Ward, Migosi Ward, Shaurimoyo Ward, Kaloleni Ward, Market Milimani Ward, Kondele Ward, and Nyalenda B Ward. Seme has West Seme Ward, Central Seme Ward, East Seme Ward, and North Seme. Nyando has East Kanawawili Ward, Awasonjiko Ward, Aero Ward, Kabonyoka Nyagwal Ward, Kobura Ward. Moroni has Miwani Ward, Mbei Ward, Masogo Ward, Masogo Nyangoma Ward, Chemelil, Tam Ward, and Moroni Koru Ward. While Nyakach has Southwest Nyakach Ward, Northeast Nyakach Ward, Central Nyakach Ward, West Nyakach, and Southeast Nyakach. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the population of the county, according to 2019 Kenya population and housing census, was 1,155,574 persons, with 560,942 of them males and 594,609 females. Mr. Speaker, for the first time in that census, we had intersex population in Kisumu of 23, and which represent 1.5% of the national total, with Nyando sub-county registering the highest number of intersex, which are 7, while Moroni had and Nyakat had 1 each. The average household in the county is 3.8 compared to the national average of 3.9. And Nyakat having a size of 4.2, with Kisumu Central being the lowest at 3.3. Population density and distribution. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, according to 2019 Kenya Population Housing Census, the county's average population density stands at 554 per square kilometers, 554 persons per square kilometers, against the national average of 82 persons per square kilometers. Mr. Speaker, we have provided a table showing population density of different sub-counties, and that members can see. Mr. Speaker, on the stakeholder engagement and public participation on CADP, I've mentioned the act that was used. I've mentioned the population guiding the CADP. Now I'm going to stakeholder engagement. The provisions of Article 196A and B and 185(4) of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Section 87 of the County Government Act 2012, and Section 207 of the Public Finance Management Act bestows a huge say in determining how the resources are mobilized and how the same are utilized. The County Assembly, through the County Budget Appropriation Committee, undertook public hearings across all the 7 sub-counties of Kisumu on Tuesday, 23rd May 2023, and additionally requested for submission of memoranda following an advertisement placed on local dailies, which is also in the annex, it's Annex 2. In this hearing, the County Assembly, through the committee, was able to interact with the residents of Kisumu County who submitted their views, which the committee has annexed in this report, and that will be Annex 3. The committee also received several memoranda from the general public and interested groups, which has widely been accounted for in formulating our recommendations to this Honorable House for consideration. And among those who gave memoranda are Michael Amara of County Occupational Therapist, advocating for expanded financing for rehabilitation, Southeast Nyakach residents, Southwest Nyakach residents, Central Nyakach residents, and Kisumu County Development Trust. Other members, the committee findings and observations on those public engagements. One, members of the public reported that most of their project proposals are not captured in the proposed KC, Kisumu County Annual Development Plan for 2023-2024. And two, that there was inequality in resource allocation and distribution in various wards in the county, and unbalanced distribution even within the wards. And three, that many projects for various wards were misplaced and in some instances duplicated. And four, that the review of the performance of the previous County Annual Development Plan 2021-2022, the implementation status provided for a number of projects are not as presented. And lastly, that there's no feedback mechanism to validate what the community had proposed before the same is submitted to the County Assembly. So our recommendations on those findings as a committee: one, that the House approves the Kisumu County Annual Development Plan with consideration of the public proposals and memorandum annexed to this report. And that two, that the county executive to fully decentralize procurement. And three, that the county to fast-track procurement and establishment of GIS Center for proper analysis and interpretation of geographical data for enhanced equity. And lastly, that the county executive to develop policy framework to address the challenges and feedback as a means to strengthen public participation cycle. Honourable members, we are going to review scrutiny and analysis of proposed departmental CADP by various sectoral committees. As you remember, when the CADP was brought here, it was given to different sectoral committees, and they had their submissions. In compliance with Standing Orders 189 and 193 of the Kisumu County Assembly Standing Orders that provide that sectoral committee shall study the program and policy objectives of departments and the effectiveness of their implementation, the County Assembly invited all CCMs on 29th and 30th of May 2023, accompanied by their respective technical staff, to appear before the respective sectoral committees. And when they were coming, they were to discuss the review of sector performance of previous ADP. Then they were to discuss, review, and interrogate respective departmental plans, priorities, and strategies in ADP 2023-2024. And then to examine the effectiveness of the implementation or implementation plan or implementation matrix of the proposed ADP. And lastly, we were to discuss and highlight and recommend revenue-raising strategies by the sectors for realization of the goals and objectives of the plan. Members, and this is how it went. On tourism, trade, tourism, marketing, and industry. They met together with tourism, wildlife heritage, cooperative, finance, and enterprise development. And this is the recommendation by sectoral committee that the budget committee to implore House to appropriate funds of 100 million for counter funding established for industrial park in Kisumu County, and a further 4 million for mapping of the potential industrial and investment areas. This was coming after they had made the ADP, and there was proposal that we do an industrial park in Kisumu, but that can only happen if we have a counter funding of 100 million. CCM resolutions by CBAC was that CCM to justify the omission, why he omitted it in the initial ADP, and response by the CCM, the national government, to counterfund counties on establishment of the industrial funds. And then we recommended that they approve. We approved to be included in the ADP, that the 100 million be included in the ADP for industrial parks, and then the Department of Trade to present a report on mapping of potential industrial investment areas in the county undertaken in the previous year. Public works, roads and infrastructure, and the Department of Infrastructure, Energy and Public Works. And their ADP was considered and approved as it was. Labor and Social Welfare, that is the Kisumu County Public Service Board. The ADP was considered and approved. Budget and Appropriation Committee looked at the County Assembly, and they considered and approved the ADP of the County Assembly. Planning, Industrialization and ICT, that was the committee, and they were talking to the Department of Lands, Physical Planning and Urban Development. And in their meeting, the department is on the proposed ADP that has been laid in the House and submitted a new document in this regard. Then the CCM Finance was to shed light on the allegation of that, why they had to disown the ADP. And then the question was that the documents were approved by CC with the consent of all CCM. And this is how it was resolved, that the concerns raised and discussed by CCM and the solution forwarded to the County Assembly for consideration. On the Department of Culture, I don't even think they met because I can't see that, so they won't cry later. Department of Health, the ADP was considered and approved. The Department of Public Service, County Administration, Participatory Development, and Office of the Governor met with the Administration, Law, Justice, Constitutional Affairs, and Good Governance Committee. The ADP was considered and approved. Early Childhood Development Committee on Early Childhood Education, Adult Education, and Vocational Training met with the Department of Education, Human Resource Development, and ICT. And their ADP was considered and approved. Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries met with the Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, and the department did not meet the sectoral due to absence of the CCM. The CCM was absent, so they could not meet with the department. Water, Environment and Natural Resource Committee met with the Water, Environment and Natural Resource Department, and the IDP was considered and approved. And lastly, Planning and Industrialization and ICT Committee met the City of Kisumu, and the department did not meet. They were to meet the City of Kisumu, but they did not meet. So whatever discussions happened were not factored in. Other members, on review of performance of previous ADP of 2021-2022, and I will go very fast through the different sectors. And I will start with agriculture, livestock, development, fisheries, and irrigation. The department had improved production per acreage in crop production, and the crops are maize, rice, cotton, root crop, and other commercial viable crops from 8 bags to 10 bags for maize, 20 bags to 30 bags for rice, 3 tons to 5 tons for root crops, the likes of muogo. Other members, the improved crop production was achieved as a result of various interventions taken by the department, which includes improved agricultural input access to credit facilities, provision of subsidized input to 15,000 farmers, enhanced extension services, implementation of agricultural projects undertaken by development partners, and provision of fertilizer grants, and areas under irrigation improved from 15,000 to 18,000. In reviewing the livestock, they say that the livestock production subsector, there was an increase by 20% as a result of intervention taken by the department, like distribution of 607 dairy cows, poultry for commercial egg production. In fisheries, there was an increase in production by 10% from 1891 metric tons to 2043. And this increase was attributed to intervention of department that supplied fingerlings, predator nets, and there were also 115 new fish ponds. The County Assembly, in reviewing their previous CIDP, Mr. Speaker and honorable members, Article 176 of the Constitution of Kenya, Section 14 of the County Government Act 2012 accords the County Assembly the mandate to legislate, represent, provide oversight roles. The County Assembly endeavored to legislate and approved 18 bills, 7 motions, 28 statements, and other sectoral committee processed 37 committee reports. These were sector-specific bills to help deliver on service delivery. Further, the County Assembly processed 5 petitions from the public touching on the elephant in the room, which is pending bills, menace, payments to community health workers in health centers, and other key legislations. In line with the provision of Article 45 of the Constitution of Kenya 2021, which promotes access to information, to enhance access to County Assembly proceedings, we established County Assembly Broadcasting Unit to enable the public gauge the performance of members in deliberations of House proceedings and hold their MCS accountable on issues that touch on development. Finally, to improve conducive working environment, members of the County Assembly and staff have strived to construct a residence of the Speaker and an ultra-modern assembly, which is 95% complete for the House of the Speaker and 35% complete for the ultra-modern County Assembly. City of Kisumu, honorable members and Mr. Speaker, the City of Kisumu in the last CADP under infrastructure subsector, and to improve service delivery, it undertook improvement in the following. 1, drainage to improve the flow of flash floods, which has been constant menace during the rainy seasons. 2, implement non-motorized transport corridor, completion of cycle lanes with the implementation status of 10.5 kilometers. 3, undertook upgrading of 6 informal settlements. And 4, rehabilitation and commission of Mama Grace Onyango Social Center. 5, develop 4 markets out of the targeted, and the move was aimed at enhancement of revenue by provision of utility and improved business spaces. And lastly, the City of Kisumu in the last ADP did the sustainable solid waste management. The city, through the office of the governor, decommissioned the famous Kachok dam site and relocating it to Kasese in Umbei ward. Infrastructure, energy, and public works in the last ADP, the county opened 70 kilometers of road infrastructure, maintained 123 kilometers of roads to gravel standards, and did a 4.6 kilometer tarmac road. Honorable members, in the transport and mechanical subsector, the department acquired 3 earth-moving machines and 4 trucks to assist in grading of county roads. And in energy subsector, the county installed 7 kilowatt microgrid at Kitmika Cultural Center, 1 biogas at Ahero VTC, and distributed 700 solar lanterns countywide. In electricity and petroleum subsector, the county managed to install 29 high-mast floodlights, whose main objective is to transform the rural areas into 24 our economy and spur growth in the peri-urban areas. County Public Service Board. Honorable members, the County Public Service Board is charged with the responsibility of developing and implementing human resource policies and in the year under review, the board envisaged to undertake the following programs. 1, construction of Kisumu County Service Board modern administration block and purchase land. The above mentioned programs and targets were not achieved due to budgetary constraints. Education, Technical Training, Innovation and Social Services Department. In the previous ADP, they did a feeding program and they were providing rice and oil worth 17 million to 684 schools. Honorable members, they purchased and supplied chairs and tables to a number of ECD centers. They did capacity building to 708 teachers, and the department initiated vet policy and bill development, which is now at legislative stage. And lastly, in responding to emerging issues like COVID and floods, the department made provision for personal protective equipment like masks, hand washing points, and tents in 10 schools. It constructed 116 classrooms across the county, and 4 pit latrines, and conversion of terms of employment of 674 trained teachers from contracts to permanent and pensionable terms, and supplying reading and writing materials worth 25 million. Honorable members and Mr. Speaker, in reviewing the previous ADP for medical service, public health and sanitation, it's worth noting that the department did not implement some of the capital projects due to lack of budget constraints and an allocation of funds from the exchequer. That notwithstanding, the department managed to undertake key projects, and this include completion of stalled health projects countywide, 2, adoption of green energy in health facilities countywide, 3, construction of flagship JTRS Cancer Center, 4, procurement and commissioning of X-ray machines for Moroni County Hospital, 5, construction and commissioning of mortuary at Moroni County Hospital, 6, procurement and commissioning of X-ray machine at Ahero County Hospital and Kombewa County Hospital, 7, construction and commissioning of operating theater at Nyakach County Hospital. The Department of Public Service, County Administration and Participatory Development. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the department had envisaged to purchase 35 175cc motorcycles to ease mobility for administrators. However, due to insufficient funds, the program was deferred. So, honorable members, what they could only do was deputy governor's official residence, establishment and training of village councils, appointment of village administrators, establishment and training of sub-county and ward committees. Trade, tourism, and marketing, they achieved the following. They had planned to do 62 markets and 8 market sheds, but they only constructed 1. They wanted to capacity build 1,000 micro and small enterprise. They only managed 50. They wanted to do verification of weighing machines and measuring equipment of 6,000 units, but they only did 2,264. They intended to create 20 awareness campaigns to the public on business standards used in the county. They only did 10. And then under alcoholic drinks control, they did 100% a success rate on issuance of license to prospective outlets. And lastly, on mapping of industrial and investment areas within the county, that was also done by the department. Then under sports, culture, gender, and youth affairs, these are some of the things they did in the previous ADP. Construction of Jomo Kenyatta International Stadium, development of culture, arts policy, as well as sports policy. Under capital projects, the department strived and constructed International Conference Center, which is about to be complete at 183 million. Then the department endeavors completion of Ogada Stadium at a cost of 3 million, and it's yet to initiate the construction of Moroni Stadium at a cost of 5 million. Lands, housing, physical planning, and urban development. Honorable members and Mr. Speaker, the department tried to assist and secure ownership of county-owned projects. It established a land bank to enable potential investors acquire land within when land is required to undertake development projects within the county. Further, the department intended to repossess 23 parcels of land that belong to the county, but only managed to repossess 3. So they still have 20 that they are supposed to repossess as we are planning for CRDP 3 and doing our first ADP. Similarly, the department managed to refurbish 10 institutional houses while they intended to do 150. Finance and economic planning. Honorable members, the object of finance and department is to ensure that proper use of financial resources and enhance public finance management in the county. In the sub-program of resource mobilization and revenue collection, in the year under review, the department projected to improve on its own source revenue with a projection of 1.9 billion. Nonetheless, the department realized 1.1 billion on on-source revenue. The shortfall occasioned by closure of business due to demolitions, inability to collect revenue from border, lack of implementation of updated valuation roll, inadequate service delivery, absence of revenue collection policies and legislation. However, the department did not provide the committee with debt management plan on how to defray pending bills which continue to stifle development of the county. Water, environment, climate change, and natural resources. Honorable members, the department objective is to improve access to water by 10% from 58 to 68%. And the directorate achieved the following. A total of 17 county-funded projects were successfully completed and are operational. 2, opening of 6-kilometer drainage in different parts of the county to control flooding, where Ahero, Chemelil, Tamu, Masogo, Nyangoma, and Kisumu Hills were main beneficiaries. Through partnership, Biogas International, the directorate established a pilot biogas plant at Ahero, and the directorate officially operational at Kasese dam site, and the directorate successfully implemented 3 pilot projects, including construction of biogas plant at Ahero Vocational Training Center, then tree seedlings production at Papkadundo in Seme. They also say that that was an achievement in their observation. And they also improved access to clean and safe drinking water by rehabilitating pipe network in rural, peri-urban, and informal settlements at a cost of 500 million. And to increase the number of functional boreholes, the directorate rehabilitated and upgraded 25 existing viable boreholes in the county and drilled 12. Their capital projects include equipping of DC project, Ahero, at 2 million, drilling of Bull, Milugu Primary, Central Seme, Gambola Spring Water Project in Kisumu Northward, expansion of Rodi Water Project, Magwarka Magore School Pipeline Extension, Koguta Phase 3 Water Project in Koru Moroni, completion of Bar A Water Project, equipping an extension of Kweyoko Webo Hole, completion of Karateng water project. Honorable members, budgetary performance of the financial year 2021-2022. Governance and administration in the ADP had 835.6 million. And this was revised in the estimates to 290,749,502. When it came to spending, they only spent 206,974,640, and having a deviation of 83,774,864, which is a 71.19% change. Honorable members, this is a very important table, very, very important. And that's what determines how we are going to make estimates after this. In tourism, culture, arts, and sports, in their ADP, their total projects in that year was 724,800,000. Then, in the budget estimates, it was revised to 220,26,963. Then, after spending, they only spent 109,749,870. So it means 110,277,093 was not spent. In health sanitation, their ADP was costing 884 million only. Then their estimate was 3.844 billion. But actual expenditure was 3.571 billion, giving a deviation of 273.6 million. Land housing, road transport and public works, their ADP was 922 million. Their estimates after the ADP was 712.6 million. The actual expenditure was 314.4 million. Land housing and physical planning had an ADP costing 1.3 billion. Estimates was 420.6 million. Then actual expenditure was 66.7 million. Livestock, agriculture and fisheries, their ADP was 440 million. Their estimates in that year was 785.1 million. The actual expenditure was 389.3 million, giving a deviation of 395.8 million. Education, ICT and human resource development, their ADP was 2.1 billion. Their budget, their estimates were 793.9 million, but the expenditure was 596.4 million. Water services, their ADP was costing 531.8 billion. Their estimate that year was 183.9 million, and then the actual expenditure was 104 million. That's a deviation of 79.3. Public Service Board, they wanted 168 in the ADP, 168 million. Their estimates was only 75 million, and the actual expenditure was 63 million, giving a deviation of 11.3 million. Finance and economic planning, their ADP was 962 million. But in the estimates, they were given 2.3 billion. Their actual expenditure was 1.8 billion. I hope you are noticing those deviations. In public administration, the ADP was 835 million. Their estimate that year was 423.4 million, and the actual expenditure was 300.3 million. I remember synergy was 323.2 million. their estimates was 415.7 million, and the actual expenditure was 224 million, giving a deviation of 191. The city of Kisumu only had an ADP of 1.8 billion. Their estimates were 731.6 million, and then the actual expenditure was 493.4 million. County Assembly of Kisumu had an ADP of 445 million. Their estimates was 929.3 million, and the actual expenditure was 852 million. Total, we had an ADP of 12,345 million. Then we had an estimate of 12,177,852,410, but we had an actual expenditure of 9,076,537,189, giving a deviation of 2,501,315,221, which was 74.53%. Challenges faced during implementation of the previous ADP. One, litigations that delayed implementation of projects, such as valuation drawn. Two, delayed disbursement of funds from the National Treasury. Three, lack of county assembly owned ward offices for ward managers and ward village administrators, which undermines decentralization. Then inadequate staffing against ballooned wage bill. Then deviation from projects in the CIDP and ADP during budgeting. And another one is delay in procurement process. Then low contractual capacity by some of the contractors that are given jobs. Then climate change was not given priority in terms of budget allocation, despite the impacts it causes the county. Another challenge was delay in finalization of various legislation and regulations, which was necessary for improved governance and in particular circumstances like the regulation for the bursary fund. And lastly, inadequate monitoring and evaluation system, which is key to improved performance. Committee recommendations with regard to review of the previous ADP. Honourable members, the sectoral committees, implementation committee, and general oversight committee to review, investigate, analyze, and verify implementation status of projects indicated in Chapter 2 of ADP for the financial year 2021-2022, and course report and recommendation to this House. That those committees need to look at the ADP of 2021 and 2022. Two, that all county government sectors to timely submit their strategic work plans and quarterly implementation reports to the County Assembly in compliance with the law. Another recommendation is that the Sectoral Committee of Labor and Social Welfare to investigate and analyze and bring report to the House on skills and competencies of the county executive staff. I hope the Honorable Zachary Ukoyo has heard that. Four, that timelines for completion of projects be issued to avoid projects overlapping to succeeding financial years. That every project we give, we must give timelines for completion and adhere to it. Five, Directorate of Monitoring and Evaluation to be strengthened to improve performance and implementation of projects. Those are the recommendations that the committee saw and gave with regards to implementation of the previous ADP. Honourable members, now with all that information, review of the previous performance, all the laws that we require, the population and all those, we are now going to ADP 1 of the third CIDP. Mr. Speaker and honourable members, this ADP on approval will implement the strategies, programs, projects and priorities of first year of the third generation of the Kisumu County Integrated Development Plan for the financial year 2023-2027. The committee has mapped out and comprehensively present some of the proposed sector priorities intended to drive realization of the full potential of devolution and meet development aspirations of the people of Kisumu. Honourable members, I will go per department, and I'll start with agriculture. The key sector priority for agriculture will be management of agriculture advisory services, that is the extension services, development of crop, livestock production, and reinvigorating the fisheries value chains, and promotion of agribusiness. This strategy will ensure increased agriculture productivity for food security and market access. Finance and economic planning, resource mobilization and revenue collection. The county government is to shift to digital revenue collection platform. This will curb revenue leakages. On accounting services, they will do capacity building on financial management processes, reconciliation of previous year's accounts on IFMIS, and responses on Auditor General reports. Then, on asset management under the same department, the department will focus on development of risk policy document, implementation of asset management policy, payment of pending bills, and adherence to international and national accounting standards. Then under procurement and supply chain management in the department, the county is currently implementing e-procurement. The department will enhance capacity building on e-procurement to ensure that all LSOs, LPOs are committed in IFMIS in order to reserve funds. In planning and policy formulation, the department will develop budgetary cycle documents including County Annual Development Plan 2024-2025, County Budget Review Outlook Paper, Finance Bill, and Budget Estimates. Then access to dedicated internet services. The director plans to increase internet connectivity bandwidth from the current 120 Mbps to 350. Then on Kisumu County Integrated Network Infrastructure, 3 additional county institutions to be covered in both LAN and WAN connectivity. This will bring the total number of facilities and institutions covered by LAN and WAN to 7. I know Honorable Jamo will explain to members what those means. Digitalization and automation of government services. The Directorate, in partnership and collaboration with User Department, is planning to enhance revenue management systems to include end-to-end automation of revenue streams and deploy health management system in all health facilities. Honourable members, under trade, tourism, marketing, trade, tourism, and marketing, honourable members, they want to do fair trade services and consumer protection, industrialization and investment promotion, product development, marketing and diversification, cooperative development, management services, and alcoholic licensing, betting, and gaming control. In promoting marketing tourism products for sustainable development, they want to develop and market Kisumu as a MICE destination of choice, and to develop and promote market tourism products for sustainable development by implementation of various projects and programs within its key thematic areas, including refurbishment and maintenance of tourism signages. I know they really like signages. Development programs, development of tourism sites like Kitimikai, MICE facilities, mapping of infrastructure facilities, management of infrastructure facilities, partnership and engagements, and such like. Infrastructure and public works, construction of 150 kilometers new gravelways. That is what they want to do in this ADP. Rehabilitation and routine maintenance of 170-kilometer rural access roads. Then construction of 5-kilometer new tarmac road. Climate proofing of 10-meter drains. Planting of 4,000 trees along the roads and nearby institutions. Designing of 20 green buildings. Construction of 20 public buildings. maintenance of 5 government assets and formulation of 1 policy document, inspection of 40 vehicles and equipments, grid connections to 1,200 households, electrification of 4 kilometers of street lights by street lighting, construction of 5 high-mast floodlights in market centers, dispensaries, beaches, etc., installation of 50 solar floodlights or street lights, and establishment of 1 solar mini or microgrid, establishment of 1 solar farm, and distribution of 500 solar kits to households, among many projects. So remember, as you see, we are going to have distribution of solar kits, so you can put that in some of the projects that we are doing in the ward. Land physical planning, housing and urban development. They want to do automation of physical and land use development applications, initiate revision and approval of existing part development plans, planning and survey of market centers, carry out survey and titling of individual properties. I know the Honorable Speaker is really interested in that. And in accordance with Sectoral Properties Act 2012, to improve the security of tenure, development of a 3D-enabled county spatial plan. Land banking, they also want to do that. Resolution of land issues affecting people within the county, such as land injustices, boundary disputes on demarcation and open access roads, undertake advisory plans, survey and mapping of existing markets and public lands. So many things on land that they want to do in this financial year. So if you are interested in land bank, titling, you can put that in the estimates. Water, environment, natural resource and climate change. The department will focus on key strategic priorities. 1, development, expansion and rehabilitation of new water facilities, strengthening management of rural water supplies, capacity building of staff, enhancing networking and collaboration, improve KASESE integrated waste management, effective and up to standard sustainable solid waste management. Department of Medical Services. Priorities is to provide uninterrupted service, provide high quality service characterized by adequate and motivated staff, adequate medical supplies, and sufficient diagnostic and support services. Honourable members, to achieve this stability, the wage bill of the sector is envisioned to increase marginally above 3 billion. This uninterrupted supply of pharmaceuticals and non-farms, laboratory diagnostics and support services are expected to cost 400 million. And then the maintenance of service delivery stability alone will be costing 3.4 billion. So just staff and maintenance of facility, if we don't construct anything, the Department of Health wants 3.4 billion. Education, training, technical training and innovation, social services. Their emphasis is linked between education and training and the labor market, and the need to create entrepreneurial skills and competencies, mainstreaming national values in education and training and strong public and private partnership. The need to address issues related to access, equity, quality, relevance, curriculum, teacher development, management, as well as trainers in the areas of technology and entrepreneurial skill development is important. Sports culture. The priorities. 1, harness, develop and market talents. Provision of one-stop music and film studio for Mama Grace Onyango Social Center. I know the Honorable Bill would want to learn to play guitar, and they are planning that they can do that at Mama Grace Onyango Social Hall. To improve sports infrastructural facilities in Kisumu County and Moi Stadium, promotion of culture and heritage, promote welfare and ensure safety of SIGs and survivors of gender-based violence in the county by establishment of safe house. We want to do a safe house so that if my brother here beats his wife, then we can take him to the safe house as we solve the issue. the sofas at Tiangre. They want to coordination and implementation of sports, culture, gender, and youth-related policies, programs, and strategies. Formulation of gender bill. They want to do a gender bill. Then art, culture, and youth policies and bills. Then peer learning, mentorship. All those are the sector priorities of sports culture. Public service, county administration, participatory development. Their priorities include handling special programs and emergencies. I know Chele really emphasizes on this. Handling special programs and emergencies. Another priority of the sector is strengthening devolution up to the village level. They really want to see the village councils work, especially during this ADP. Then they will entail playing a major role in coordination and implementation of all policies at the grassroots level. Other sector priorities will be development of the e-CMS to enhance provision of timely feedback to the citizens of the of projects and programs. The city of Kisumu. The city of Kisumu, these are the priorities. One, in the financial year 2023-2024, it will undertake the following major development programs: modernize markets within the city, designate, pave and mark all streets, parking spaces, upgrade your Kali sheds, installation of surveillance camera, installation of stormwater drainage facilities, develop cycle footpaths, open and improve roads and public infrastructure in the informal settlements, lakefront development, provision of new housing units in estates, designate, pave and mark all street parking spaces, training and capacity building of traders. Public Service Board. The priorities in the 2023-2024 is procurement of human resource recruitment information system, which aims at facilitating digitalized and easy recruitment process, renovation and maintenance of board offices to provide conducive work environment, then procure of fault and safe to provide safe custody of board documents, and then operation and maintenance of normal activities of the board. Kisumu County Assembly, the priorities on this ADP, they want to improve high quality performance and service delivery, develop and enhancing physical infrastructure to provide good staff management and working environment, strengthening capacity of MCS in lawmaking process, oversighting and representation, strengthening research and information service for MCS, including appropriate use of ICT. I know the speaker talked about iPads yesterday. Enhance and sustain utilization and absorption of financial resources. The Assembly will prioritize completion of modern assembly. It will also conduct civic education by training MCS on standing orders, acts and laws, sensitize MCS on the process and procedures of administering bills and motion, benchmarking with national parliament and Senate, financial facilitation towards for visits on projects, and budget preparation, availing of quarterly reports, staff training and capacity building through staffs. All those the Assembly is planning to do in this annual plan of development. Other members and Mr. Speaker, we have responses to the general concerns raised by the committee. One, as a committee, there was a concern that there was late submission of plans in contravention of Section 126 of the PFM Act. The two plans were submitted on 13th March 2023, while the law requires that they be submitted on 1st of December 2022. But this was occasioned by the second county government, the transition of the second and the third county government, as this CIDP was falling in an election year. So I think that hindered That's the explanation they gave. So we recommended that they should strive to adhere to the timelines provided by the legislation. Another concern was linkage of the CSFP to CIDP and ADP. The fiscal strategy paper tells us how we've been spending all over some period. So as we make the CIDP and ADP, we should be alive to that. So the CCM assured the committee to submit a linked CIDP with the policy document as required. And then the county treasury, we recommended the county treasury to course and align the policy document plans accordance with the provisions of all the applicable laws. Another concern was on that a number of respective programs in KPI and in the CADP are not aligned to the project proposal made by members of the public during formulation of the development of the plans. Whatever was in the ADP that was submitted here did not match what the people had suggested. And the response of the CCM Finance is that the CADP was prepared in accordance with the guidelines provided by the National Treasury and State Department of Planning, but acknowledge that the framework has gaps which needs to review the to effectively accommodate elements like projects and specifications. So they say that in making the ADP, they were following a guideline provided by the National Treasury. And what we recommended that all public submissions made during the validation of public participation conducted by the Assembly be included. So we had agreed that even though they did that, but during our validation of the CADP, all those projects that the people mentioned be included in the ADP. For that a number of projects did not have costings, then the CCM Finance assured the committee to implement the recommendations of the committee on the project costing that will endeavor to provide more accurate costings. So that is what he said. So the committee is recommending that the county treasury to provide project costings for all projects and programs in the in the ADP in line with provisions of PFM Act 2012. On the wage bill, the CCM said that the only remedy for wage bill is to enhance revenue collection, without which there's no way we can send people home. So we advise that we need to put stringent measures to increase revenue of the county so that we don't send. And then the county public service board to conduct staff rationalization so that we know if we might be having excess staff than we require. Then on pending bills, which was a concern as we were looking at the ADP, the CCM Finance highlighted the payment status of pending bills in the county, and by end of third quarter of 2022-2023, the pending bills would only be 600 million against accumulated figure of 1.7 million. And the department foresees to pay another 500 million by the end of this financial year. So what we are recommending that the county treasury publishes the list of pending bills. We want the treasury to give us the list of pending bills that they are having, so that as we plan for other things, we consider that too. And then the county treasury, Office of the Control of Budget and Office of the Auditor General to review, examine outstanding pending bills and provide the correct figure. Some of the bills they are talking about eligible and ineligible bills. So as of now, we are not sure how many ineligible bills will become legible. So we are requesting that those three officers can review those pending bills and give us the correct figure so that we plan for them. Then lack of special plans. Without special plans, sometimes it's hard to know if your projects are balanced. And then the CCM admitted that the county does not have special plan, but it's a work in progress. So we are recommending that they expedite the special plan. With that special plan, you will know where all dispensaries are and which people are very far from a dispensary or from water point, for example. Forum members, on resource mobilization and financing of the Kisumu County Annual Development Plan for 2023-2024, the county projects to mobilize and access funds majorly from the county share of national revenue, which comprises of equitable share and conditional grants and own source revenue, as to finance the expenditure of the proposed ADP 2023-2024. And this is how we propose that it's going to be financed. Equitable share will be 8,668,230,379. Conditional grants from the national government will be 119,489,362. We won't have any conditional grants from development partners as at the time we were making this ADP. Then we'll have conditional allocations, that is loans and grants, which will be 284,477,070. Then we'll have conditional allocations from loans and grants from development partners, which will be 346,863,366. Then we are projecting an on-source revenue of 1,903,204,714. We are not foreseeing any public or private partnership. Then we have other sources, which is SICAP and UNICEF, which will give us 11,338,920, making a total on-source revenue of 11,333,603,810. Honorable members, these revenue are planned to be plowed apportioned to various sectors in the county as summarized in the budget below. That finance, economic planning, and ICT will consume 1,755,500,000. Trade, tourism, industry, and marketing, 913 million. Infrastructure, energy, and public works, 845 million. Medical services, public health, and sanitation, 3,044 million. Sports, culture, gender, and youth affairs, 683,200,000. Water, environment, and natural resource, and climate change, 480 million. Agriculture, fisheries, livestock, development, and irrigation, 900 million. Education, technical training, innovation, and social services, 800 million. Land, physical planning, housing, and urban development, 565 million. Public service, county administration, participatory development, and office of the governor, 736,420,000. The city of Kisumu, 1,587,500,000. The county assembly of Kisumu, 282 million, and the Kisumu County Public Service Bond, 150 million. Total, 12,742,180,000. Committee observation. Honourable members, the proposed total budget of ADP 2023-2024 is 12,742,180,000. It's more than the projected revenue which I mentioned up there, which was 11,333,600,000, leaving the county with a financing gap of 1.4 billion. Recommendations. 1, that all proposed sectoral resource ceilings be realigned in conformity with the most current CARA ceilings. Recommendations on the resource gap. 1, that the Treasury to implement a range of capital financing strategies such as securing conditional and unconditional grants that will be utilized to fund specific county projects and programs in various sectors and embracing public-private partnership. 2, the Treasury to automate revenue collection, create autonomy of revenue department, and enhance revenue supervision and enhance revenue enforcement. 3, that all departments be assigned revenue collection targets to rate on source revenue realization by the county. And 4, the processing of valuation roll to be expedited and submitted to the county assembly for approval. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, in conclusion, pursuant to the Article 185 of the Constitution, and in fulfillment of the requirement of Section 104 of the County Government Act 2012, I urge the House to deliberate and consider and adopt this report so as to pave way for the implementation of the third county government annual development plan for the financial year 2023-2024. And I want to ask the Honorable Geoffrey Warindu to second.
Honorable Geoffrey Warindu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I second the report.
Honorable members, now that the report from the Select Committee on County Budget and Appropriations on its consideration of the proposed Kisumu County Annual Development Plan 2023-2024 has been presented, seconded, I want to propose a question. And I propose that the report from the Select Committee on County Budget and Appropriation on its consideration of the proposed Kisumu County Annual Development Plan 2023-2024 is open for debate. Honorable James Omolo.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the report on the county annual development plan, which has been planned for the next fiscal year starting July 1st to 30th June of next year. Mr. Speaker, there are quite a number of good things in it, and of which I can mention. The County Assembly of Kisumu has seen it wise to make the assembly members to have digital pads which they can access information from. Because, Mr. Speaker, we've been straining a lot to read from our phones, and some phones, you know, Honorable Oiko, sometimes he's really faced with the hard times. He had to get his hard copy. But from this ADP, that has been a priority to the County Assembly Service Board, which means every member in the next fiscal year will have his own tablet to get information from. Mr. Speaker, also, I would like to say that in terms of revenue collection, there is a number of measures which has been put in this ADP that will enhance our revenue collection. Mr. Speaker, collecting revenue manually or otherwise has really make it impossible for this county to meet its revenue targets. Kisumu is a big city, we have a city here, and it's a big county. So even the city alone, if we utilize well the streams we have for revenue, can really generate a lot of money. Mr. Speaker, if we go the way it has been proposed in this ADP, we'll really seal almost all loopholes. Mr. Speaker, when the raw money being collected in our markets don't find their way to the county coffers, that's when we lose a lot in terms of revenue. But with the digitization of the revenue collection end to end, I think we will make it as a county to enhance our revenue. And now that we have the revenue board in place, I think we are going to make a big stride. And this will really help us also to cap the wage bill. You know, the wage bill is so huge, but if we don't enhance the collection, then some of the employees in this county risk going home because we cannot manage to pay them in their various departments for the work they are doing. So that will be a solution. Mr. Speaker, I also want to state that in terms of land, Mr. Speaker, the county of Kisumu started building the ward offices for the ward admins. And some of these offices, especially one in my ward, was built in a private space. Mr. Speaker, you know very well that we cannot, as a county, put up any structure in terms of development in a private land. I've seen it has been captured very well in the ADP for the Ministry of Lands that they will have a land bank, money to buy land and have the projects of the county done in public spaces. So I would really recommend this report because it will really curb a lot of wastage which would have gone. Like, for example, the office in question, I'm saying, if the owner of the land decides to have it as its own, then there is nothing we can do. But with the land bank in mind and setting aside money for it, we are able to acquire these spaces and make them public space for the purposes they are meant for. This would go a long way in all our 35 wards, and every ward will have its own space to do the ward admin's office, even the ward MCA office. That is in the future. Mr. Speaker, in terms of enhancing internet connectivity, I think the ministry, the other side, the finance ministry, wants to increase the bandwidth from 120 to 350 Mbps for the entire prosperity. Mr. Speaker, you know the whole building houses several departments and directorates, and each of these departments consume a large amount of internet in terms of bandwidth. Enhancing the bandwidth from 120 to 350 for the entire county, that will really go a long way, giving them best connectivity, even to our hospitals within the city and the departments and directorates within the city. That will really mean well for them. And I really want to support, and I beg to support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kelvin Raro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me first start by appreciating the good work done by the able Deputy Chair, having read a very voluminous document, and the entire team of budget for sitting down and looking into the budget in totality, the ADP, the CIDP, and trying even to refer by comparing the two ADP. I was only worried, Mr. Speaker, that the ADP mentioned in the report was for financial year 2021-2022, and I had the question, although never asked about it, what about the ADP of the current financial year? Was it also put into consideration? Or when you want to compare, do you skip 1 year by virtue that you are in this financial year? Because we're in the financial year of 2022-2023, but the one they compared with is for the previous financial year, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by quoting or saying something about Jaramogi Oginga Odinga and this book that he wrote titled Not Yet Uhuru, Mr. Speaker. I don't know what was lingering in his mind then, but I'm assured that he was trying to fight for the bigger population living under poverty line, Mr. Speaker. If you look at the entire budget, Mr. Speaker, and we decide to, if you look at the entire ADP, the report, and we ask questions that we, the elected and the nominated leaders in this assembly, can ask the executive, the authors of the entire ADP, there are things that we still or we need to push so that they also consider. I want to say, without fear of contradiction, that Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, who is the governor, has really succeeded in the health department, going by his program and administration. With the Marwa thing and whatever is happening with the UHC, if you look at the dispensary and hospitals around, you'll appreciate. I want to single out one of the hospitals that we have today. I was lucky to visit Lumumba Hospital recently, just some few days ago. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say I was very pleased by looking at the maternity wing of the Lumumba Hospital. When I was trying to interrogate some officers in that hospital, I realized that they don't have male ward, and the hospital is not in full operation so that they can occupy other places, plus mortuary or other activities within the hospital. And I was asking myself, like, I'm a legislator, what should I do? When it comes to budgeting, there are things that we give priority. I wish we take our time as assembly to visit Lumumba Hospital. You'll admire, you'll even compare Lumumba to Avenue or Aga Khan. Then you ask yourself, why should we not try to empower these few facilities that we have so that they can work and even compete these hospitals that charge a lot of money to our residents, Mr. Speaker? And if you look at the ADP, you find that such an hospital, there's no provision or money for that because we have to cater for other places also, Mr. Speaker. And that's begs the question, what do we target as a county? What do you want to achieve? Mr. Speaker, if I leave the issue of Lumumba Hospital and the Health Department, during public participation, attention of the public was drawn to issue of wage bill. And the public was surprised to realize that 50% of our budget goes to wages, almost 49%. In fact, the document was summarized, and they could see it, that 49% was going to our salaries, then 20% was for operation and maintenance, then the remainder 30% for development. Then you ask yourself, like the 12 billion coming to Kisumu County, then by the time it reaches our ward, Mr. Speaker, we realize that we end up getting around 20 million or 25. Then it means that this devolution is benefiting very few people. And because salary is a must, Mr. Speaker, it is given priority over development. And for that major reason, you'll find that some developments have not been done, and maybe due to unavailability of funds, Mr. Speaker. These are some of the issues we need to discuss as legislators and find a solution, a win-win solution, so that the major part of the money being sent from the exchequer can directly benefit wananchi through certain projects, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was also totally concerned with the ward and the strategy of the county targeting our wards and the youths within our ward on issue of maybe indirect employment. Because we cannot employ directly due to wage bill, Mr. Speaker, then the good funding, the major part of the money that we get, we need to look at the activities that can encourage youths to engage in employment, that is self-employment. And if that is done through our budget, we'll achieve and solve other problems. Today, almost all these wards are crying of insecurity. And it is becoming rampant, Mr. Speaker, by virtue that these youths are not getting jobs to do. And because of that, most of them or some of them enter or decide to join a bandwagon and end up terrorizing wananchi, which we as the leaders, we must look into that. Mr. Speaker, I was looking at the expectation of the budget to the population of the county. And thank God, from the finance bill in the national government, majority of the people tend to understand the role of the MCAs and the role of the MPs. And some of them are drawn into this debate and even to understand how the county operates, Mr. Speaker. I want to appreciate your office, Mr. Speaker, because out of the public participation, our people now can understand why we had some few projects to be done. And that's why we are crying most of the wards, we are crying knowing that the executive are not doing justice to us. When majority of the bigger chunk of our money is put in Kisumu Central for the city, then you'll end up finding that most of the things that our people from the world need, they don't get it, Mr. Speaker. And thank God, they now understand that it is not the MCAs who are preparing the budget, but it comes from a certain department. Finally, Mr. Speaker, my suggestion, maybe not in this budget, Mr. Speaker, how I wish the Department of Agriculture and Trade to be considered with good allocation in the next budget. There's these struggles that I've come to understand in Kenya. Kenya as a nation is trying to run away from its primary level of production, that is agriculture. And with that, it has caused a lot of problem to Kenya in terms of feeding and making life very expensive, because many of the youth don't want to engage in agriculture. And in fact, I'm happy because most TVET are trying to promote what we call agribusiness. And I think this is an area, this is a department that the county should take seriously in order to solve the crisis of unemployment, Mr. Speaker. Looking at trade, trade also shares the same thing with agriculture. If the county can have plans and see how to allocate more funds in agriculture and trade, and in terms of education and loans and even promotions, so rewarding, so that majority of the youth can join agriculture and do trade, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the country will lead to another level, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Bill Odhiambo serves as a very good example to youths. The only thing that pleased me about him is after university, doing degree, he decided to do tomato business and farming of rice. And out of that, he managed to convince majority of the population and to reach a level where he was able to be elected. Such a youth should be rewarded, and many should learn from him that agriculture can really change our life. How I wish the county targets agriculture and trade in order to solve the problem of food and also encourage business and self-employment. I support the ADP report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ken Ouko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the report of the Budget Committee on the CIDP and the ADP. Mr. Speaker, it is informative, it is also advisory, it is also comparative. The most important thing so far is the CIDP, which actually will involve our people down there to generate ADP. Mr. Speaker, at times I fail to understand how the projects which were not proposed at the CIDP would find their way in the ADP. And I'm happy that whoever has been preparing all these reports is advised very clearly by the committee concerning that. Mr. Speaker, there is a problem we have in delaying of procurement and on procurement of goods and services within Kisumu County. And we have a situation where the advertisements are being made at the 11th hour when the financial year is almost ended. And in a case like that, you will find it not very easy for any investor to take such kind of adverts, because even before the year comes, even within one month, within a period of 1 month, she or he may not be able to process all what is required to win a tender and to do that job. And eventually, we reach or we get into the pending bill. It is quite unfortunate And this is why you had the committee questioning the competency level of our employees within the procurement departments and some other places. Mr. Speaker, we are actually expecting the best because we are promising our people that we are going to deliver. And our people down there, they don't know that there is also county assembly and the executive. When we are out there, we are seen as the county government of Kisumu. And just as my colleague has said, by giving us the opportunity to go back to the people and do the public participation as the county assembly, we could actually explain ourselves very clearly that we don't take part in producing the budget, but our work is the oversight. I think we have a committee called Labor Committee. They should be allowed to get into the workforce of Kisumu County government and examine their competency so that we succeed on what we want. Mr. Speaker, we have what is called revenue, the collection of revenue. We have had a lot of proposals from this county assembly. The automation of collection of the revenue of Kisumu County. It is important the executive should take note on this so that we get money from our own source that will support our budget. A situation where 99% of our developments and expenditure lies more on the national government than from our own source revenue, it is quite unfortunate. And you did realize that when the money could not be sent from the national government, we were in total quagmire because of this. It is very important we do that. Now we also have another department called Land and Housing, Physical Planning. I don't see the need for giving this department more money that they can't absorb. Because a case where the absorption rate is 50%, what happens to the remaining money? It should go to the CRF. It means that kind of department cannot absorb the amount of money. They don't have the capacity. And I would advise the House that such kind of department should not be appropriating, giving them more than what they can't absorb. It is very important. I think, Mr. Speaker, I have to applaud you and the County Assembly for leading in the absorption of money allocated to departments, like now the County Assembly. But the other departments will also make sure that we utilize all the money required because our people want development. And the failure to do that, it shows there's some kind of incompetency somewhere. We have a Public Finance Management Act. Mr. Speaker, many a times, most of the cases we meet, even at the PIC Park Committee, it is over Public Finance Management Act. Most of our employees, those who are in charge of running of the affairs of the developments and some other matters within the executive, they don't observe Public Finance Management Act. It is very important we insist on that so that it is also going to help us in our role of oversight. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion, but I was only worried that we are too ambitious in our budget. we talk so big and we expect a lot, but what we can contribute as a county is so small. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Millicent Omuya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the Vice Chair for taking that too long time. Initially, I thought he could drop down, but I've realized that he's still very strong. That one is my son. Oh, the report was so good. And we have so many good things as MCS. My fear is one. As an assembly, what mechanisms or what can we put in place to ensure that when it comes to procurement, it is done within timeline so that we don't have projects that jump to the next financial year? Because if at all we are in a position to control that, then we shall be in a position to reduce the issue of pending bill. Basically, that's what is worrying me. And if at all we are in a position to control that, I'll be a very happy person in this assembly. Thank you so much.
Honorable Peter Obaso.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me start by commending the job well done by the committee, led by our good brother Seth. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the report is so good and it captures almost every variety and many things that we need, except one thing that has not been tapped and has not been captured as per my observation is on sewer line. I think in some places like Kisumu East and some parts like Kisumu West, we've seen an increase in population. And I think these places requires sewer lines. And I urge the department concerned to put more focus on that. Secondly, I wish to urge the concerned parties put more focus on projects that will increase our own revenue collection. In places like agriculture, tourism, and in markets. Like in between Kolwa Central and Kolwa East, there is a market that need our attention. It do start at around 6, and by around 9 it disappeared. So I think in such places we can put focus so that we can collect something from such markets. Lastly, I want to say that I'm well satisfied with the allocation that has been placed in health department. I think our health sector is doing really good. I've been in some of its sectors like Papunditi, Lumumba, and a few others in this area, and they are doing good. With that few remarks, I beg to support. Thank you.
Honorable Tom Onditi, Bay Ward.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, allow me to join the queue by thanking the Committee of Budget and
Honorable Nditi.
Appropriation.
Honorable Nditi, we are discussing the report from the Select Committee on the County Budget and Appropriation on its consideration of the proposed Kisumu County Annual Development Plan.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I stand guided. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the report in question. Mr. Speaker, allow me to start by thanking the committee for a job well done. The report is very comprehensive, although, Mr. Speaker, I must confess that I've not gotten enough time to read through the report. I think I was mesmerized by a lot of flood problem that is going on in my ward. Mr. Speaker, I was even wondering, sometimes back here, Mheshimiwa Billy and I presented a statement here on how the water menace or the flood menace could be addressed up to date. We are yet to get the report, Mr. Speaker. I thought that could have arrested some of the problems that some MCs like me who are coming from flood-prone areas are taking a lot of our time. Nonetheless, Mr. Speaker, I sat through and listened to the presentation by the Vice Chair. It was very elaborate, Mr. Speaker, and one thing I must comment on that report, Mr. Speaker, is the level of comparative analysis between the last CIDP and the current one. Mr. Speaker, you realize that if you listen to the allocation in various departments, you realize there is less consumption, as was said by my colleague, Honorable Owoko. Mr. Speaker, you then wonder why, because even after you realize that less money was given to department more than what they were requested, in terms of when it comes to implementation or absorption, they end up absorbing less than what they were allocated. So you wonder what was the basis or the reason for requesting for that more money when they cannot even consume or absorb what they have been given, which is less than what they requested. So you wonder whether there is a problem in the procurement process or the process of approval so that the projects can be implemented. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, when these projects are not implemented, the members of the public go to the neck of the MCS because the public don't know that some of these things are not being done by the MCS. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we are requesting that the department concerned this time round to at least change their game so that they speed up the process that could allow them to implement some of these projects. Because failure to absorb means the projects were not implemented. Again, Mr. Speaker, as I was listening to the Department of Trade, I heard the chairman or the vice chairman reported about the tourist attraction of Kitmikai. Mr. Speaker, how I wish the case of Luanda Magere site was also considered or included in the report because it's something that of monumental importance to the society and the county and the country as large. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to support. Thank you.
Honorable Benny Pete, Aiko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me time to also make my contribution on the so important document, the Annual Development Plan. Mr. Speaker, members are lamenting on poor absorption in the departments, which has been a major disease in this country. But Mr. Speaker, like now, I know the Assembly is going to pass the budget latest by 30th of this month or before. Then after that, you will find that the procurement program, the procurement plan will delay up to next year, March, April. that is when the procurement plan will become active. Then you wonder what the procurement department was doing from July this year up to the end of the year. And what members need to know, procurement department is a department in the finance department. That is where the procurement is. So when the departments are failed on procurement matters, the assembly needs to take the finance department to task why the procurement is not very active in this county. Why it takes such a long time for procurement program to be realized. Because they get instructions from the finance department. Another issue that members need to address is the authority given by the finance department to other departments to incur expenditure. We need to begin to know what brings problems in the implementation of projects in Kisumu County. The finance department, after the assembly has passed the budget, will be giving authority to the departments to incur expenditure. The departments cannot simply start doing their procurement, implementing the projects without authority given by the finance department. That is the Waziri Finance. When we become keen on this, we shall find out ways of finding out where we go wrong, why things delay, and who should be responsible. And this ought to have been a resolution of this assembly, because this has been a perennial problem, so that the Minister of Finance is taken to task on the way he gives authority to the departments to incur expenditure. When we shall be eloquent on all this, we shall be understanding when we prosecute our cases in this house, and when we want to take the executive, particularly the finance department, to task. Because even as we talk, some projects have stalled. Why? The award letters were given in April, in May, and that is when the contractors are struggling to look for resources. And they also excuse themselves. The whole year was there, and they are being given letter of awards 2 months to the end of the financial year, a month to the end of financial year. So members, these are matters that we need to look into and take the finance department to task so that we improve on the implementation of projects in this county. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I so contribute.
Honorable Bill Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want to thank the committee for a report well done. It is a very detailed report, a report that compares the previous ADP and the ADP now, gives us a clear picture of where we are and where we are heading as a county. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity again to urge members that I believe this is our first ADP. Let us take our time and ensure that we follow up through the process so that we don't, by the end of this period, we don't end up giving the same reasons that I've had, that the departments are not working, yet we are the oversighting group. From the report, it is a very wonderful report. If you look at the health department, they are saying they want to renovate the current health facilities that we have instead of adding more, which is good, because we can't add more, yet what we have is not perfect. In agriculture, you see them, they want to have extension services, which is very key in agriculture to help farmers. You also see they want to promote agribusiness, and this is an area where many youths will be employed. Yet I'm worried, in agriculture we have a lot, very good ideas that are there, but if you look at their location, it is something that can't do even half of what they want to do. So I want to urge this Honorable House that in our next discussions, let us discuss on how we'll ensure that the county government of Kisumu increases allocation in agriculture so that many youths and many county men and women that are not employed can venture into agriculture and put food to their tables. Same is on sports. This is an area that can also employ many people, many young women and men. And you see, they have been given, they are saying they are going to harness and develop and market talents within Kisumu County. They are even going ahead to construct a studio at Mama Grace. I'm also worried because they have very good ideas, but then if you look at their location, it is not something that can do all that. So as I rise to support, I want to encourage us that in our role, let us ensure that we always put executive to task so that in the remaining 4 years, we come out of the assembly saying that we rectified all the mistakes that we found within the county. Thank you.
The Honorable Leader for Majority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to join my colleagues in supporting this report. It was work done by both the committee and the secretariat of the budget. But I want to address the concerns of some of our members, especially on the implementation of projects. Mr. Speaker, I want to suggest that we urge the departments to fully decentralize procurement to reduce the time taken to award these projects to contractor. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the Department of Finance, that is under procurement, there is need to do capacity building to our procurement officers in e-procurement to reduce the backlog that we witness. Mr. Speaker, as was said by Honorable Eko, I want to say that the solution is in our hands. I want to suggest that immediately we pass this budget, we invite the Department of Finance so that we agree with them on the timelines for the completion of these development projects in various departments. It is the Department of Finance that is in charge of procurement plan. So I want to urge members that immediately we pass the budget, let us invite the department and we agree so that they don't wait until March. That's when they start the implementation of the project. Mr. Speaker, there is an area that I also want to disagree with Honorable Uko, that is to reduce the budget of land and urban development. You realize that in the second CIDP, the county government of Kisumu created 5 other towns, but we've not been able as a county to allocate enough funds in order to do visible projects in these towns. I want to advise the Department of Lands and Urban Development at least to put some good money so that these 5 towns that were created, that is Ahero, Maseno, Kumbewa, Muroni, and Katito, can witness some development in their areas. Mr. Speaker, I also want to talk about Department of Education. I want to appreciate that they have been providing rice and oil. And I also want to urge the chairman of education that our small kids in PP1 and PP2 cannot just survive on rice. There is need also to provide beans so that they have that mixture in their diet. Mr. Speaker, I also want to appreciate that our contracted EC teachers were converted to PP. But I want to say that we still have, they still need to employ more ECD teachers. There are a number of ECDs that do not have ECD teachers. I know one from East Kanowidi, Sare ECD, that does not have any ECD teacher. Last, Mr. Speaker, as was mentioned by Honorable Kelvin Oraro, there was a cry that our Agriculture Department is under budgeted. Mr. Speaker, where I sit, I know that Agriculture Department is going to be a major beneficiary in donor funding that I believe will boost agribusiness and then hands over project opportunities to the youth. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
What is it, Honorable Ken?
Mr. Speaker, given the mood of the House.
Point of order.
Honorable Ken, I rule you out of order. Honorable Kennedy Ajwang.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for according me this time. Going by the mood of this House, Mr. Speaker, I call upon the mover to reply.
Honorable Seto Kumu.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker and honorable members. I want to thank you for your deliberation on this first ADP of the CIDP 3. Honorable members, we've been given an opportunity to make our own marking scheme. Whatever the people that elected us will use to evaluate us after 5 years. I know we said so many things while we were campaigning. Most of them are captured in our CIDP that we have started. This is our first year of now actualizing some of those projects that you went around telling people. And honorable members, I believe that in passing this ADP, then we have an opportunity to start the developments that we promised the people. The honorable member for Kolwa Central asked why we are not talking about 2022-2023 in comparison. The honorable member is not here, but for those who can reach him, please, the current budget implementation is not complete. So in making a document, it's hard for us to compare with a budget year that is yet to be completed. That's why we chose the budget year 2021-2022. I want to agree with Honorable Iko and Honorable Millicent that in reviewing the previous ADP, we agree that procurement has been a problem. And that's why we've been given an opportunity to always do ADPs every year, and every 5 years we do a plan. Please, with lesson learned, and you are privileged, Honorable Iko, to have been in the previous CIDP implementation, and now we are in the next CIDP implementation. Let's use those experiences that we had to make this one better so that we handle those issues of procurement that we are talking about. The Honorable Tom Munditi was asking about Luanda Magere. I know Luanda Magere is in the CIDP, but it does not feature in the first ADP of the CIDP 3. I have even checked on the validation report that I have here that has come from your ward, and I don't see even Luanda Magere amongst the list of projects that were listed to be done in the first year. So maybe we are planning to do it, but maybe on the second year, third year, because this is a 5-year plan, and we are just starting with the projects of the first year of CIDP 3. So I get your point, but maybe it's planned for a different year other than this one. The Honorable Basso talked about sewer line. Totally agree that Kasule, where you come from, might need a sewer line, and other areas. But we, as we make the ADP, we are alive to the fact that we need resources. And that's something that needs to be captured so that we provide sewer line wherever it's needed. The Honorable Member and the Majority Leader, Member for Aero and the Majority Leader, I agree that our children do not only need rice as a diet in their school, they need much more. But I say that ADP is funded by both the exchequer and the donors. This is an opportunity for us to also reach out to those who can help us and tell them that we've started with something, and if they add us more money, then we can provide protein into the nutrition of our kids who are in pre-primary school. Thank you so much, honorable members. This ADP will form what you are going to implement in the first year. We have included all the projects that you had in the validation of the ADP, and they are attached to this ADP report, and they will form part of the ADP report as we make the budget estimates. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I beg to reply.
Honorable members, now that the report from the Senate Committee on County Budget and Appropriation on its consideration of the proposed Kisumu County Annual Development Plan 2023-2024 have been presented, seconded, and debated, as per our standing orders, I want to put a question. And I put that as many of the opinion that the report from the Select Committee on County Budget and Appropriation on its consideration on the proposed Kisumu County Annual Development Plan, financial year 2023-2024, be adopted. Say aye. As many of the contrary opinions say nay, the ayes have it, and the report from the Select Committee on County Budget and Appropriation on its consideration of the proposed Kisumu County Annual Development Plan, financial year 2023-2024, have been adopted today, Thursday, the 22nd of June, 2023, at 16:51 hours. And I want to direct that the Hansard of the said adoption be prepared and forwarded to the relevant department for purposes of compiling the final Kisumu County Annual Development Plan 2023-2024. Next order.
Mr. Speaker and honorable members, there is no any other business to be transacted in the order paper.
Honorable members, I want to request the chair of tourism and the chair of trade committee. I am informed that there is an invite that was done to them by the CC member for trade, tourism, and the marketing, I believe, and industry, on some partnership engagement in Sarova Hotel. Whenever they are, they can join them, I think from 6 p.m. There being no any other business, the House stands adjourned until Tuesday, the 27th of June 2023 at 2:30 p.m.